do Coach with Shanda. And hi, Tara, how are you? Hi, Diane, how are you? Abigail, Carrie, how are you guys? Sandra, awesome. Okay, so you guys, I'm talking to people on Zoom with me because there's people on Zoom with me as well as streaming inside the group. So I just got off like an amazing marketing meeting, and I want to share this with you because as you're building out your business, there are the moments of frustration, right? Just me? Am I the only one? I just want to know. Am I the only one with the moments of frustration? How do you deal with your frustrations? Go in the chat and just tell me, or go in comments on Facebook and just tell me, how do you deal with your frustrations? I was sharing a story today how I used to be offended and defensive, right? Offended and defensive. So much so that I remember working with this woman who I loved, by the way. We were like this. We're like two peas in a pod, loved her. And I won't go into the full story of this, but I think it's an important moment for me to see how far I've come. Like, it's so important for you to see how far you've come. But I remember that every time she would go talk to our boss, I would feel like somehow offended. Right. And so like I'd feel like she was like going behind my back, or she was, she would go to our boss and she would talk about, things that we were going to do in our division. And she was like setting vision. You know what I mean? Like, she's a visionary. So she'd set vision. The reason why she was so great at sales is because she could always see, like, here's where we could go, and if we went there, things would be amazing. And that's what I loved about her, is every time I hung out with her, and we hung out every single day because we worked together, we were partners, is that literally every time I talked to her, I felt like I was on the top, like the top of the world. Do you guys know anybody like that in your life, where when you talk to them, you just feel good? You feel like, I love talking to this person. They get me out of my stuff, right? They get me moving again in life. They're also the person that you don't want to call when you want to be in your stuff, right? You're like, I'm not calling that person, because if I call them, I'm going to have to transform. And so that was this girl for me. And she would go and she would talk like as if, like, talk about control issues. Like, I hated her going and talking to the owner of our company, because they would create something that I wasn't included in. And I remember I would get like these emails from our boss, and they were like these empowered, excited emails. But when I read it, the first sentence or two that said, I met with, Michelle. I met with Michelle, and everything I saw after that point was red. Like red meaning like I was mad. I was angered, I was mad, and the rest of the email that I read felt very betraying, very behind my back, like it would. And thank God my boss was so good at leadership that she would be like, Shanda, like, you've got this all wrong. Like that, like that's not like what you are hearing, and what you think is happening is not happening at all. And I would go back, and she would encourage me to do this from time to time. I would go back and I would reread the email. And how crazy is it when we're a defensive person? And if you are, right? Like, there's no shame in this, by the way. It's being present to what you're seeing is not necessarily what's true. What you're seeing isn't necessarily what's true. And so she'd have me go back and read the emails, and I would read it and I would feel like I was in the Twilight Zone. Does anybody remember that show, The Twilight Zone? I literally felt like I was in the Twilight Zone, and it was a completely different email. The words, the empowerment, the vision, like, it was pro me, not against me. It was a totally different game. And so I share that with you because as I was sharing that with our team, we're building out the Blind Spot Boot Camp. Do you guys know that that's coming? It's coming on Monday. I'm so excited. In fact, we won't do this training on Monday, on next Thursday, because I'll be doing the Blind Spot Boot Camp on Thursday. So if you want more of me, go to blindspotbootcamp.com, blindspotbootcamp.com, and register for it. It's totally free, but we're making it a product. So right now we've launched a program called Mentor Me Live. Not trying to spin you, but I'm trying to give you some context. And Mentor Me Live is where we're working with people for long periods of time around different topics of entrepreneurship. And I'm in this recording of content right now. And so as the recorded content's being done in my living room or in a studio. I'm like, there's this concept of the blind spot that I was like, why don't I record it with an audience? Because first of all, it's that important. And second of all, once we record it, we will take the recordings down. And well, we have a hard copy with our, oh, Dan, I'm just going to mute you. Where is that? I can see her lighting up. Faith, can you figure that out? Cool. And I'm telling you this if you're creating products, okay? So I have a videographer who will be videoing me, and he will have a hard copy of that video so it's nice and clean and crisp. And then we will have people who registered for the Blind Spot Bootcamp with us on Zoom if you're VIP, which is powerful to do VIP, by the way. It's $47 this time. And in that, we're going to work with people for 2 weeks after the blind spot. My husband's going to work with them to help them really like develop this work of blind spot. So what am I talking about with this? We chose money because people need it. We chose money. Like, what's your blind spot with money? I have a question for you. And I'm curious about this because we're thinking about doing an additional product after the boot camp, where I don't feel like people understand how to think about money. Does anybody have that challenge? Do you know how to think about money? But so what would really be helpful right now is if you could actually go in the chat, the comment section, and just take a moment, because this will help me create product for you. Okay. So if you could ask me any question around how to think about money, what question would you ask me right now? Like, where's the area that you feel like you have a hard time thinking about money? Where is that area? If you could just write that down. Where is that area on how you think about money? Like, what are you challenged with around how to think about money? So just put that in the comments. That would be great. So that's one of the pieces that we're like really going to handle. There's blind spots in money, right? And blind spots is like a great example. You can't make money without people. Right? Whether you work in a company and you're working with people and you want to be ascended or make more money or gain more responsibility, there's people. You can't make more money as an entrepreneur unless you know how to relate with your audience and people, right? And so selling, doing videos online, doing a sales conversation, like there's so many blind spots around money. And the biggest one I see is people actually start making money on the wrong starting block. So imagine you're about to do like an Olympic sprint. You're in the Olympics and you're a sprinter and you're down on the track and you're on the starting block. Like what I've seen over the years is most people are facing the wrong way. And they're going to run the track backwards versus forward. It's the same amount of effort to get around the track, but you actually reversed success versus advanced it. And so that's a big one I'm going to be talking about on the blind spot. I think we're doing it on day 2. On day 2, we're doing the blind spot around money. Anyway, I'm not to unpack all of that, but we just finished doing a meeting around this, around the content. And I was like, gosh, it's so crazy how far I've come around the conversation of offense and defended. So I share that with you because if you feel like you get offended really easily, you've got to find a way through that. Because all of your actions that are coming out of that are like, they're not tried, true, and tested. Like they're not accurate, which can make you feel a little cuckoo and crazy because you think they are. So I am going to be unpacking that in the boot camp as well. That's why that story came up, so that I can dive down to help people get unleashed from the emotional trigger of being in resistance so much that if you think so much of your day in resistance, I mean, it doesn't matter how many times I show up on Thursday to coach you. If your body is like this in resistance, so is your mind. So if your body's like that, so is your mind. And there's something scripture talks about, which is opening up your mind so that you're fertile. When an idea falls on your mind, you want it to be open to fertile to multiply. I just got to give this one little other piece because we just did this whole blueprint. You're never going to earn your way to financial freedom. You hear what I just said? You're not going to earn your way to financial freedom. So I know it can be really frustrating when you're trying to make money and it's not coming fast enough, but that's because you're on the starting block going the wrong way. Because you actually think that if you work harder or if this comes together, like you're behind somehow financially. Who feels that way? Put behind in the chat, right? Put behind in the chat if you get that emotion. Okay, so like be honest about it. This is powerful because you're unleashing this idea like from other people as well when you engage like this. But that is a great example of going the wrong way around the track, because that's why you feel so disappointed, because you're looking at how much time do I have left in this life? How much time do I have left to, a result that I want to create? And so you're actually in a time conversation, and you think that it's frustrating. Like that, if you really were in a time conversation around how to make money, that would be so scary. And you know that fear is not of God, right? It's fear, we know that. Are we correct on that? We all agree with that? Like, so fear isn't going to manifest an incredible result. It's going to manifest a bad decision. It's going to manifest frustration. And you're not open, fertile for a multiplication, right? And so you've got to realize that you cannot work your way to financial freedom. There's multiplication factors of how to think that are actually going to grow your money so much quicker. And when you hook into them, you're going to start to go, wow, like the pressure releases. And when the pressure releases, you become, Amelia, a nicer person, right? And when you become a nicer person, then there's no more partnerships, there's more energy, there's more power to go after what you want. There's also more empathy for the people in your life that maybe we're a little too hard on. And so then now your support gets stronger. Who's seeing what I'm putting out right now? Who's seeing the connection points? Do you see how it's like an ecosystem of freedom? That's why people say money's not freedom. It's an ecosystem that comes together. It's an ecosystem. And that's the stuff we're going to be opening up in the boot camp. That's the stuff. Pretty cool, huh? So, okay. So you guys gave me a long time to vet that out, but I'm so excited about this. So, and we're going to make this a product for Mentor Me Live and for selling on our website. So, okay, let's hot seat. Who wants to hot seat? Who else? And you can take something I just coached you on, something I just opened up, and you can hot seat. I can hot seat you on that. Diane.
Okay. Hello. Thank
Hi.
you. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. You just said such magic words to me. In your thing that you're going to do this on the boot camp. I think I just read, with the upper limit problem, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of related to that, right? Where I feel like I've had this upper limit problem where I'm okay. Number one, I feel shameful that I haven't followed the right steps that you said to do, and I'm late on things. And so then it makes me feel ashamed, and then I don't want to do anymore. And then I'm like, well, should I just start over? Should I just give up?
Yeah.
Should I, right?
Yeah. Does everybody see how that happens? That's a cycle of quitting.
Yeah, it is.
It's so demonic, you guys. It's crazy. Sorry, I don't want to go into that, but it's so crazy. Okay, go.
Yeah, and I feel like something happened.
Can you put both of us on?
What's that?
I was telling Faith to put both of us on. Okay, go ahead.
And so, yeah, so I just feel like lately something happened after I read that book. Like I just finished reading it, the upper limit problem. And it really opened my eyes that I have a problem. And I have and when we were saying about, your money problem, right? I have a limit, and I feel like I'm doing everything I can to sabotage myself. And I felt so excited after my show and everything, and it went so well. And my list build was small, but I didn't care because I was doing it, and it felt fantastic. And I was serving. And then I stopped because I missed the deadline. And I know you're so strict on, if you commit, you got to do it. Well, I didn't do it. And I felt ashamed. I felt like I failed. I felt like, okay, so what do I do, and how do what
So,
I do
so
now?
Dan, so here's the thing, and everybody, like, is this helpful to hear? Like, it's nice to hear somebody talk about really what's going on, and so you can unhook from that moment of quitting in your own life if it's happening, right? And so it's no different than you're on a diet and you feel really good, and then all of a sudden you go on vacation or you let it go, and then you feel like you blew it, and so you stop going back to that. It becomes a diet versus a lifestyle, really, is what happens in that moment, right? And so we don't want making money to be a diet. We want it to be a lifestyle, right? And so now part of the lifestyle is we don't ultimately fail unless we give up. And so like there's just, I know you guys already know this, but it's a blind spot. It's a blind spot because you might intellectually know it, but there's something in you that creates a blind spot for you to see it. Do you see what I'm saying, you guys? So it's like, you know this intellectually, but when you're in the act of life, in the act of business, the blind spot comes up and you're like, shoot, I know that we're supposed to have things fall apart, but you know what? I'm just a loser. I didn't create my result. I never create my result. And not only do I never create my result, and you just can't see through it until like that blind spot's removed. And then you're like, okay, money's actually really easy to make. I can't believe it's this easy to make. And it's not a positive affirmation. That is willpower that creates that. And so, laws of attraction talk about, positive affirmations and all that. And it's powerful because scripture also talks about that your voice, like faith is voice activated. So it doesn't matter what your belief system is, like, there's some truth in all of it, right? However, the core of you has to be clean for you not to have the blind spot stand right in front of you where it just it's like doesn't let you see what you already know.
Mhm, mhm.
You hear
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
So Dan,
Go ahead.
if you were to ask me one question right now that I could help solve for you, what would it be?
Okay. It would be what's the best next step I can take to monetize by the end of August?
So,
Even
and
though
what was your
I missed my stuff. So my next step is webinar and then stacking, right?
if you did a small list, then what I would actually recommend is bring people onto your Zoom and hold office hours where they could come. I see you're doing women in wellness, right?
Yes. Hmm.
So think about specific topics, like how I just talked about blind spot and money,
Yeah.
right? Think about specific topics that people care about in your audience. So inflammation, energy, any of that, right? Like maybe you want to get off coffee. Maybe see, I'm trying to get off coffee. I was not addicted, and now I seem to I don't even want coffee, and I find myself at the coffee shop. And I don't even want coffee. Like I don't even have low energy. And I freaking I'm so love the act of drinking a coffee, And so, you might say, but so let me take it. Coffee's coffee's bad for most people. Not all people, but most people have a coffee insensitivity and they don't know it. Right. And so you could take concepts like this and say, if you want to get off sugar, if you want to get off coffee, or you want to increase your energy, I'm going to host office hours where think of me like your wellness practitioner, think of me like your go to, and I'm going to be on Zoom at this time and come and you can ask me any question. Now, you can't just send an email and think people are going to show up. Gals, one of the blind spots is commitment. People say, I'm committed out of my mind. And I'm telling you that one of the biggest reasons why we hold people in agreements, whether it's our leadership program, like agreement to your goal, or whether it's in our business programs, agreement to you saying you're going to complete the program and build your audience and sell to it. The reason why we do that is because people get excited, but excitement doesn't create freedom. It's actually staying in, like Diane's got a breakdown, right? It's staying in that and working your way through that problem to success. Like I said to my team today, when I realized that I'm never giving up on something until I complete it. And then if I want to give up on it, whether it's a relationship, whether it's business, like anything, I'm not leaving until I hit my intended result. Okay. Like I'm staying until I hit my, because everything else is an emotion. It's the way that I guide myself through blind spots. Because let me tell you, I don't feel like going to my masterminds. I don't feel like doing Facebook Lives. I don't feel like getting up to work out. I know you're the same. Is anybody else the same? Come on, don't leave me out here like this, right? Like we act like on Instagram, like we all look cute and hot all the time, and we're all like always in the best moods with our spouses, and we always have perfect nails. I have no nail polish. Like you know what I mean? We always act like everything's so amazing. Meanwhile, you see a couple that looks like they're the happiest people on earth, calling each other queen, king, all this, and you're like, put them in an idolized position, like you idolize the relationship, and they're like, oh my god, they're getting divorced next month, you know what I mean? And they're like putting out a divorce message. This is why scripture says don't idolize anything. By the way, idolizing is connected with greed. It's connected with greed, and this is a blind spot because we don't know that. And so we want something, we covet something that somebody else has. We're like, oh my gosh, I really want I have to really ground myself on this. Half my mastermind has a jet, a Ferrari, or a Lamborghini. And I will say I do like the SUV Lamborghini. But you get what I'm saying? Like you feel like you should have one of those things and you should do whatever you can to get it. When you're around people, that's a sense of idolizing. And so it's connected with greed. That doesn't mean having a Lamborghini is greedy. That's not, that's, I had problems with critical thinking, so that's why I say that. Critical thinking is not something that is easy to figure out. You have to really clean your filters. It's not the same thing. But greed will shut the door of generosity. Yeah. And the minute you shut the door of generosity, then you lose the doorway to abundance. So you have to really watch that, because you'll start to get scared to offer a guarantee. This is how it shows up. I don't want to offer a money back guarantee because what if they take it? Like one of the best money back guarantees, you guys, is I'll work with you until you get your result. If you got a private program and you're selling like a high-end program, I will work with you until you get your results. That's a great, let's do a poll. How many people would be scared to actually give that result? Put an S for scared. Be honest, right? Be really honest. Put that out there. I get it. That feels like a really risky guarantee. But that, because you like now you start to analyze, and you analyzers are already analyzing. You controllers are already justifying. You driven people that just you bulldoze everything through to completion. You're a controller. You justify. You're now justifying why you wouldn't do that. Well, I can't control what you start to use those words. I can't control what somebody does. Like what if they take me up on it and I'm working with them, analyzer, I'm working with them forever. You know what I mean? And so you got to watch that stuff, because it prevents you from being generous, which then locks the door to abundance coming in. It locks the door to abundance coming in. I know somebody made that offer. There was only one person that ever took her up on working with her until she got that result. She ended up becoming a paying private client for this person, $25,000 a year for 4 years. Okay. And she didn't take advantage of her by taking that guarantee. That's not what most people do. It's not. You know what I mean? Most people, when you give 14-day money back guarantees, we don't do that. We do 3-day, 5-day, 7-day. Why? Because we're with an audience of people who get scared and they pull back. And then they come back. It's like, stop pulling back, because you always get back up to the starting block again, because that's who you are. You're not going to give up until you hit it. And so every time you pull back, you're just slowing down your progress, right? It's better to get up, like what Diane's doing right now. Get up. So Diane, I want you to do a Zoom, like I said.
Okay.
Right? Go back and listen to the context of how I positioned that. I think it'd be powerful for you to do an audio message. I use just my voice memo on my phone. Do an audio message letting them know that you're doing this, right? Or write it in an email that's a paragraph.
Okay. Sure.
Okay.
Just
I
short.
take my I take my voice memos, and I don't do it, my VA does it. I text message her my voice message, and then she takes that link and she puts it in an email with a paragraph above it to listen to this message, because when I speak, I think I land communication better when I speak than when it's written.
Yeah. I
And
love
so
that.
that's cool.
Mhm.
So you
Oh,
can give them ideas. You can say, well, I'm going to come, let me be your wellness practitioner. This is totally free office hours. I'm not going to bill you anything. Just come and ask me any questions around this, this, and this. Keep it in a theme. And then
okay.
you can do 2 or 3 of those while you're doing them. When you see somebody who's a good fit, say to them. So it'd be like me saying, I know you work with me, obviously, but it's like, I can see my empathy model on your wall,
Yeah.
right? And so when you so say you were on a Zoom with me and I'm hot seating you, or you're asking me a question, I'd say, Diane, I'm curious, have you done my PACE private program? And pretend you haven't. You're like, no, I haven't. You're like, so do you know anything about it? No, I don't. Or yes, I do. Okay, if you said yes, I do, I would say I'm curious, because I'm genuine. Why didn't you jump in? So
Yeah.
now all I'm doing is getting her objections,
Got it.
and I'll just handle her objections in front of whoever else is on the call. While I'm doing that, that will pique other people's interest to ask me, "Hey, would it work for this?" And now we're in a great enrollment conversation that's really powerful. And but then you move off your product,
Mhm.
and because the purpose is to help people,
Yeah.
but it's also when you see people who are there, you enroll them.
Okay. Got it.
You
That's
enroll them
great.
when you know that you can help someone, you enroll them. And listen, people pay leaders,
Yeah.
so they're looking for people to stand up and say, "I got you,"
Yeah.
and start using those words. "I got you. I got you. You're good here." And you could say, just here's a link to my calendar, or private message me your cell phone number right now, because you can do that on Zoom. Do you know how to do that? They do that. Go ahead and do that now. You have your virtual assistant, or I guess your virtual assistant can't go in your private message, but you could just, copy your private message, just copy it on, like, when they private message you,
Uh,
write it on a piece of paper with their name, and say, when we get off the Zoom, I'll shoot you a text message, and we'll set up a time to talk.
I love that.
And that's how you take it off the Zoom into a private conversation where you get more specific about your products and them. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And then I just was going to do another round of the show and then keep going, stacking in September, at the end of September. Is that the right thing
Yeah,
to do? Okay.
100%. You
Okay.
you already know. Listen, making money is simple, Diane. And you like doing pace. It gives you, like, I know people will second guess. They're like, there should be more, or it's like, no, like, it's simple. Just stay in it. And the more frequency, the more you do the shows, the more you can even make them evergreen. So they're every single week. They can be part of your content strategy.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and so whether somebody crushed it or didn't crush it with a mailing will then be off the hook, because you won't really care, because you've got consistency of frequency.
Got
You
it.
know what I mean? And then you'll end up with a nice big list.
I love it. I will get there and I'm not giving up. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
so
you.
welcome, girl.
Thank
Nice having you.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got time to do one more. If you guys have to leave, you're welcome to leave. Amelia, I'll do you next.
Oh,
Faith, if you
thanks.
can pop Diane off and pop Amelia up with me, that would be great. Um, and so there's Amelia. If you could pop Diane off, that'd be great. And so if you have to leave, go ahead and leave. Normally we just run this for about 20 minutes, but Amelia, let's rock and roll. What's your question?
Hi, Shanta. Thanks. So I'm improving my empathy model, so I just wanted to check it with you.
Sure, go for
Okay.
it.
So my rant is this: you're not the slave of your brain. You don't have to use your brain just out of the box. You don't need to be a doctor, a therapist, a neuroscientist, or a guru to use your brain. You're going about things the wrong way.
Yeah.
You're holding
Stop,
yourself back.
stop looking down.
Sorry, I would have my notes here. Okay.
I know, but what it's doing is it's taking you out of your heart.
Okay.
So thinking is great for tweaking. Thinking gets things perfect. Thinking gets the like, and I know people don't like the word perfect, but it does. Like it's testing. Like when things don't work, you think about how would it work? What needed to happen for it to work? You don't say, "Oh, it didn't work." That's a misuse of power of language. It's like what needed to happen for that to work. And now you've got yourself out of the blind spot and into progress. Right? And so the language is important. But while you're speaking, you're in your head versus your heart. So it's
Okay.
not much of there's not much passion, and passion in roles, right? So let me see what you're seeing. Just tell me, what are you seeing, what you're seeing?
What my rant is?
Yeah, I mean, why is it, I don't even understand like how we're a prisoner of our brain. Like I've got no context. So if you're talking to somebody, give me some
Yeah,
context.
if you're struggling with stress, you're struggling with anxiety, and someone's giving you a label, and you're accepting the label, you're accepting that you have generalized anxiety disorder or social anxiety, or you're obsessive compulsive, or you're taking somebody else's label, and they're talking about your brain, and you don't even know anything about your brain, so you can't even assess whether they're on track or they're totally taking you down the wrong path. Then you are subject to have to do with what they say to do, whether it's taking anxiety meds or being in therapy for years and years. You're just accepting that instead of finding out what is your brain doing. Like, is it actually anxiety just because someone said it did, or there it
That's
is,
so
or
powerful, you guys. Did you guys see how powerful that is? Like, you really hooked me on, if you don't understand your brain or you don't understand how your brain works, and you're like having challenges with anxiety or stress or, PTSD or whatever, and a doctor's just saying this is what it is. We are in a world, whether you agree with this or not, we are in a world now that people are taking their health in their own hands. We just are. We've never had so much access to information. I remember I belonged to a group called Genius Network, and there was a woman that got up on the stage, and she was really really sick, and she was telling us about all this artificial intelligence that you can go and get all this information about your body. And she healed herself because the doctors had her on so many different meds that she was getting sicker and sicker and sicker. Anybody else out there have a story like that? I mean, it's you know what I mean, it is something. And I'm, by the way, and I think there's definitely there's great doctors out there, nobody's saying they're not. Again, a critical thinking moment, that's not what we're saying, right? And so there's great doctors out there, and I have some great doctor friends. But there's also, just like financial advisors, it took me 2.5 years to find a financial advisor that I trusted, that actually could do what they said that they could do, to multiply my money. Because remember, I'm never going to earn my way to financial freedom, right? And that's important to say. So you're saying the same thing. In this world, we are being passive, and it's powerful. We're passive about even raising our children. We send them all to school and not know, we've never met the teacher, and we don't even know what's happening in school. And if we were given 40 kids, there's no way in heck I could train 40 kids how to have an effective hour in school. But yet we've stopped thinking about this. Now I'm sure I'm upsetting some people, but I'm not saying there's not good teachers. I have one downstairs right now with my son, right? So do you see how all of this is like, you're really painting the picture that we have given up complete responsibility, authority over our brain and over our health. And so now what's our solution?
yeah. So now I want to be able to say I can help you with that. If you don't think you can be the boss of your brain, I'll show you how you can. You don't have to be a scientist to do it.
Okay, so remember, the solution is not in the empathy model. So you guys who don't know the empathy model, there's the problem, the solution, and then your offer. And it's not your offer. Because, so imagine if we were all at a cocktail party and we're all having this conversation. I was like, so like I could help you with that. You'd feel like you're in a sales conversation. And a good sales conversation is not a sales conversation at all. It's actually like you're generously giving, like, the strategies, the what you should do. So like before you get into I can help you with that, you need to tell me what I could go do. Do you know what I mean? You need to give me some advice that makes me feel like I can go do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, is that starting to teach?
Possibly. So it's like it could go something like this. There's so many ways of doing the empathy model, but like thinking about you, if you had a product that you were willing to give people completely free to like study to get the basic understanding of their brain, how many of you guys would love that? Put me in the chat. Like just go like give her a bit of feedback, and then Amelia, you can look on the Facebook page and look and see the me's, right? And so who would really love like if she could give you a basic understanding of how to understand how your brain works, what you would think that that was powerful, say me, right? So I would personally in a huge way. You know, a lot of people don't know concussions impact like they could impact depression. They could impact, you know what I mean? A lot of people don't understand these fundamentals of how the brain works. I only do because of being around Dr. Amen, right? And so you got to give us something.
So if in the empathy model I said, you know, if it seems like the strange untouchable thing, you have evidence that it's working well all the time. So, you know, if I take my pen and I do this and my eye blinks, that was my brain protecting me. It wasn't an abnormal eye blink. I don't have eye blink disorder. And what is common is that sometimes when you jump, like if someone comes in the room and you jump, it doesn't mean you have startle disorder because you were caught unawares. It's because there's an automated system. And once you know the automated system, then you don't get scared by your own reactions and call them the wrong things. And there are just 7 really simple categories of what the body does that are often misinterpreted or mislabeled anxiety, mislabeled crazy stressors.
This is, you guys see, I could listen to her all day. Couldn't you guys? Like this is like it's interesting. So what you just did was powerful. So you got to hang out in the problem like I did. Like so it's like I threw it into different areas. The only reason why I threw it into you don't have to do that, but I threw this idea of we've given up authority and responsibility in these areas because I was trying to land that point. Right? So you have anxiety or you've got depression or you've got, you know, things going on and people are telling you that there's something wrong with you. Like, here's the deal. How do you know that that's true? I mean, we are outsourcing all this information, right? I mean, I would use right now in the world, you have doctors telling you coronavirus is not scary and you have doctors that tell you you're going to die. Like, so what one's right? Like, doesn't matter who you're talking. So I would use that because you're trying to prove a point and get people to understand. You're not trying to push a belief system. You're trying to get people like logically to grasp logic because people don't live in logic at all. Right. And so they live in like, oh, my mom's like, I watched Dr. Oz, so it must be good for me. I'm like, Dr. Oz is totally sponsored. Do you know what I mean? Like, understand the TV industry. He's talking about what he's getting paid. He has a percentage and affiliate model on the products. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying that that is not completely clean. So do you guys get what I'm saying? So she's got to land the initial thought that the problem is that it is not even that people don't understand their brain. The problem is that people stopped taking responsibility for their health. They stopped taking responsibility for their life, and they've outsourced the most important decisions of their life to other professionals. And that proves to be a dangerous game. You got doctors saying coronavirus is not scary. And by the way, I just had somebody pass away. They got coronavirus and they like got pneumonia, went into the hospital, and I've been pretty strong on my stand about coronavirus. I had it, right? I went in the hospital. He was being released from the hospital because he got better, and then his heart went out. And he passed away. One of my favorite people in the world. Do you know what I'm saying? And so like it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And like I have a strong stand on coronavirus still. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I really do. I'm not afraid of it. And so now keep out of your belief system, guys. You know, don't let your belief system like shut me down or love me right now. I don't need the accolades or the mean comments. It's about this conversation that the truth is none of us really know. That's the truth. Like the world is divided half and half. right? And in that essence, you can't say your side's right or wrong. You know, there's good comments on both sides. So anyway, my point in sharing that with is that's really the point. My computer's gonna die. That's really the point that you're trying to open up in someone. Is the point is that instead of taking responsibility, if you go to the hospital and like my dad trusted a doctor, and again, doctors are great, but the seeds they put in him for prostate cancer burnt him and caused a whole ripple of other effects. My father deferred. He didn't go and get multiple opinions. He didn't go and research, and he didn't know what he was dealing with. And the information is readily out there to learn about your health. Do you guys hear what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to do is open up the opportunity of us to say, we send our kids to school. And we expect one teacher to train 40 people and do a good job with our kids, right? We go to a doctor. How do you know it's the doctor pro or not pro, right? Like you go to a naturopath. None of them agree with each other, right? And so what Amelia is saying is you got to take responsibility for your health. And the big point that she thinks is really important is around this conversation of your brain. Why do you feel the way you feel? Maybe it's supplemental. Maybe there's trauma. Maybe there's nothing. You know what I mean? Maybe you have attached to a label now. We don't know. But what we do know is that you need to get educated in that area. Here's a great example. I poke a pen towards you and you go like this. You don't have eye flux problem. I'm just making that up, right? Your brain's working just great. Somebody walks in the room and you jump and you always seem to jump. Well, you have a heightened sense of awareness. What could that be used for in your life? You know what I mean? Like, how could that be beneficial? My point is do you even understand this thing that's running your body? And I think people need to just fundamentally start reading books around this, start taking courses around this. They need to understand how to look on the internet. Then I would give a point, Amelia. You could go on the internet and look under this site and learn all this information about anxiety and about how your brain can look like you have anxiety and you don't. Just making this up, right? I don't know, but that's what I mean by you need to give a solution. And then you go into the offer and you say, so here's what I can do for you. What I can do for you is if you're contending with this, this, and this, I can help you with this, this, and this. And if that's interesting to you, if that feels valuable to you, then you can put down $197 right now or $99, fully refundable. I can get on a call with you and I can help you understand this part of your brain and whether or not you should be going to a doctor medicating around it or whether or not it's something else that will avoid you the ripple effect of medication in your body. If that sounds like a good viable scenario, you have nothing to lose. For $97, fully refundable, put that down here. Here's the link. We'll get on a call and talk. And then if it's not a good fit for you, I'll refund your money. If it is a good fit for you, then I will apply that $97 or $99 to our work together. Sound good?
Yeah. I have one more aspect of this that I've been looking for, which is what the thing that's polarizing is thinking like, do you think that your body, that it's just operating without any principles and that your brain is stupid and that you're just suddenly getting stressed for no reason? Yeah. Is it just like a pathology that just dropped on you, like some fairy or demon entered your brain? Or fundamentally, do you believe your body has some organization and this came for a reason and you better understand the reason, whether or not you want to do psychotherapy or drugs, you better understand the reason. That's the statement that I think might be the most polarizing, is either you believe your body's stupid, you believe your brain is stupid, you believe it's all happenstance, chaotic mess in there because someone told you you're messed up and they actually use those words, or you somehow deep inside believe that your body has some wisdom, some organization, some intelligence to it. And you have to pick one or the other. You can't have half believing it's chaos and half believing it's order.
This is where my empathy model comes in, because I start to go, but people live in gray all the time. And that's what you're trying to say. Like, you got to get out of that because that's where suffering comes. That's
Not polarized enough? I mean,
yeah,
is that-
it's not even as much about, yes, it is polarizing and polarizing is important. Um, it's not even as much about even finding the polarization to disrupt people, although that is an effective way of getting at it. It's so much just like it just, you see this over and over and over again, and it's just a big gap. And you're saying that, like, you know, you keep seeing this everywhere. And if people just got this fundamental piece, they would be better off because of it. You know what I'm saying? So I think you're right on point in it. So just hang out in the problem a little bit more, because it sets the context, and then just give them something to work with. Like, we need to see it's actually quite simple for us to figure it out, because it doesn't, you guys, it doesn't feel simple to figure out our brain, right? Like, doesn't for me, right? It doesn't feel simple. So it feels like it might be something we need to work on. Well, people don't want to work. So you need to make it real easy for us. Like, you just need to understand, like, you're like, this isn't, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to be able to understand what's going on here. You can be empowered so you can make the right decisions for your life and your health. Cool?
Yes, that helped. Thanks.
I love it. Yes, Amelia, thanks for jumping on.
Thank you.
All right, honey. All right, you guys, we will wrap up here. We went way long today, but I love being able to go long. And next Thursday, I'll be doing the Blind Spot Bootcamp. So go to blindspotbootcamp.com and come do that with me. It's going to be awesome. And the recordings are not staying up because we're pulling them off so that we can make it a product. Obviously, I'm not going to leave my product sitting there online so that people don't invest in it. We want to take it, we want to package it up, and we want to market it out there to invest so that people will actually invest in it. So we're going to record it with a live audience. If you guys want to be a part of it, we're going to deal with money, we're going to deal with relationships, and not just love relationships, like the relationship you have with other people, your audience, your list. How do you steward them? How do you not be frustrated? How do you actually lead from a really powerful place? Or if you do get frustrated, how do you shift? Right? And then money. So money, business, and relationships. It's going to be really epic. I'm very excited. I've reworked the content 4 times already. Like, I literally was at 4:00 this morning, reworking the content again. And then more came out of the baseline of the content on the meeting today. So it's good. I think it's going to be really good and really helpful. So here's to you having a great rest of your week. And hopefully I'll see you Monday on the Blind Spot Bootcamp. Bye. Talk to you guys later.